journey of what it's looked like for them in following Jesus in their own lives, a little bit of their journey of how God might be challenging them and calling them forward, because really, we're in this together. We're alongside each other. And so, Keith and Beth, if you would, just share your journey with us.
Okay, thank you. You notice that Pastor Dave gave me the microphone, and we'll see if Beth says anything. I talked to her over the weekend and said, so do you want to say anything? She said, no. And she said, but if I feel called to say something, then maybe I will, so we'll see. So for those of you that don't know us, my name is Keith Logan, and this is Beth. And literally as of midnight, when I was about ready to go to sleep last night, I really had no idea what we were going to say. So this is kind of winging it. We'll see how it goes. But I thought I would maybe start by just saying that Beth and I have been married for 29 years. And so for some of you, that seems like an eternity. It is your eternity. We kind of consider it halftime. We figure we've got about another 29 or so to go. And certainly through that journey of life, we have had ups and downs. And we started our relationship off as a married couple apart. I lived about 4 hours away from her. And so for the first year, we didn't see each other every night. We saw each other typically on the weekends. And so that was a little bit challenging. And then after the first year, we got together and lived in the same place and had some struggles. There, everybody who is going to be married or is currently married certainly knows that there's a highs and lows of relationships. One of the lows of our relationship was after we had our first daughter, we lost a baby. And about halfway through the pregnancy, there was a miscarriage that was devastating to us, and it was very, very difficult. That was a low point for sure, probably one of the lowest points that we've ever experienced in our lives. And something was really hard to get through. And also kind of around that same time, we were right in the middle of kind of career challenges in the sense of trying to kind of climb that corporate ladder. And for 3 years, we lived in 3 different states, Tennessee being the third of those. And at that point, I was really, really aggressively trying to pursue a career, and frankly, I was pursuing the wrong things. We went to church, and we're doing all kind of the activities that we should have been doing, but we were really putting our trust in each other, and we were really putting our trust in the things that we would accumulate and the stuff that we had. And so then after 3 states and 3 years, and after some lows of a loss of a baby and being apart for a while and just not really feeling that full satisfaction, that was when we really started to think about things, and we really started to kind of shift our focus and shift where we were looking for our trust. And that was when we really started to get more involved with our church. But really, it wasn't so much getting involved with the church, it was getting more involved with the relationship with Christ on our own. And we weren't really necessarily putting the trust in each other. We were unified for sure. But each of us individually and together as a couple and then together as our family, we really then started to rely on Christ. And that was a turning point within our lives and certainly within our just entire being. What God brought us into after that point was just unbelievable. And I'm certainly not saying that God brought us into all this wealth. We are not wealthy people. But what he brought us into is he brought us into joy. He brought us into contentment. He brought us into fulfillment. So we've clearly had those lows, but we've had enormous highs in our lives. We are incredibly, incredibly blessed to have 2 amazing daughters. And one of the things that we are most proud of in our lives is that we have been able to be a part through God of being able to raise our children to the point where they have their own standalone relationship with Christ. You know, when we come to church, our daughter doesn't even sit with us. And she doesn't want to be with her mom and dad. But what's cool is I was just watching it today. As Pastor Dave is preaching, she's there with her Bible highlighting and taking notes. And she doesn't have a relationship with Christ because of us. It's not because we said, okay, it's Sunday, you got to go to church. It is because God now has just loved her and brought her into her own relationship with him. Our oldest daughter, who is now away, is the same way. And so we've had highs, we've had lows, but what we have found is that when we made that switch and we really, really put our trust in Christ and not a trust in ourselves and not in trust of our stuff, then the contentment, the joy, the satisfaction, the fulfillment of life was just unbelievable. Now we're about ready to enter kind of a new stage. Our oldest daughter is already moved out of the house. Our youngest daughter is a senior. We'll be soon leaving the nest, and we will be those empty nesters. We don't really even know what that means. We don't know what to expect. But we do know that as we start this new chapter in life, that it's going to be fine, because as we start this new chapter in life, we are just trusting God to say, okay, Lord, lead us and use us for however you wanted to use us. And so just when we know that that's where our foundation is, it just gives us such freedom that we don't have to try to figure it out. All we have to do is just pray and trust. And then he will take care of the rest. And so another beginning that we are at is with 2016, this campaign that we are starting with in our church of living, giving, and serving. And we don't know what that means for us either. We do know that we will talk about it, that we will pray about it, that we'll try to kind of figure out what that means in our time and in how we spend our energy and how we spend our money. But it's the same thing. It comes back to that same word of trust. We know that as we prayerfully consider what God is speaking to us to do with this living, giving, serving campaign, is that we are going to totally, totally trust him. And if God tells us to sell our house and sell all of our possessions and follow him, then that'll be scary, but we know that our trust in the Lord is deep enough that we will say, okay, we'll do it. I kind of hope that doesn't happen because I like our house, but that's up to God. And so if that's the case, then we're prepared to do that. So as we as a church are going through this time, then I would encourage you to really just have an incredibly deep level of trust. Not trust in your own thoughts, not trust when you look at your bank account, not trust when you look at your calendar, but just trust in the Lord. And he will guide you, he will lead you, and the joy and the contentment and the fulfillment you have will just be absolutely unbelievable. So that's it. Thank you.